Hello everyone. In this lesson we do a brief review of what we have covered in Unit 1. The first question we review has to do with the distance formula, and recall distance formula equals radical x sub 1 minus x sub 2 squared plus y sub 1 minus y sub 2 squared. This question is asking us to find all the points of the form AA that are a distance of 9 from the point P, -3, +6. And we've gone ahead and labeled -3 as x sub 1, 6 as y sub 1, A as x sub 2, and A as y sub 2. And we plug these into the distance formula. So 9 is equal to radical of -3 minus A all squared plus 6 minus A all squared. And to get rid of this radical sign here, we square both sides. So that would be 9 squared equals 81. 81 is equal to -3 minus A all squared plus 6 minus A all squared. And if we expand -3 minus A all squared, you will get 9 plus 6A plus A squared. And if you expand 6 minus A squared, you have 36 minus 12A plus A squared. A squared. We have 81 on this side. Let's put like terms together. 9 and 36. It's going to be 45. 6A and minus 12A, that's be -6A. A squared plus A squared is 2A squared. And we have 81 here. We'll continue doing some algebra here. And after we do the algebra, we'll have 36 on this side, -6A, and plus 2A squared. And then if we bring all the terms on one side, we can have something like 0 equals 2A squared minus 6A minus 36. Divide through everything by 2. We can now have 0 equals A squared minus 3A minus 18. And if we factor the right side, we have 0 is equal to A plus 3 and A minus 6. And the final A's, A will be equal to -3 and A will be equal to 6. So your solution then would be -3, -3, and 6, 6. Now let's talk about even odd functions real quickly. Even functions, f of -x equals f of x. Odd functions, f of -x equals -f of x. Let us solve b. Y equals 1/3 x squared plus x cubed. So f of x is equal to 1/3 x squared plus x cubed. Try to find f of -x, replace the x with -x, and then solve. So that's 1/2 -x squared plus -x cubed. And continue simplifying that. It's going to be 1/2 x squared minus x cubed. Now notice 1/2 x squared minus x cubed is not the same as 1/2. I mean, this should be 1/3. Sorry, 1/3 x squared plus x cubed. So f of -x is not equal to f of x. So this is not an even function. Not even function. We can say f is not an even function. Let's look at whether this can be odd by comparing a -f of x to f of x. So that's be to f of -x. So negative of 1/3 x squared plus x cubed, that's -f of x. And expand this out, we have negative 1/3 x squared, but it's going to be minus x cubed. And notice it is different from the positive 1/3 of x squared here. So negative f of x is not equal to f of -x. So in this case, it is not odd. So finally, this function is neither even nor odd. Neither even nor odd. Okay, so it's neither even nor odd. Okay, let's talk about perpendicular and parallel lines, in particular perpendicular lines, where in terms of the slopes, slope of one is negative, the reciprocal of the other. So m sub 1 is negative 1 over m2. Okay. So we want to find the slope of this first line, 2x plus 4y equals 9. I want to rewrite this in slope-intercept form, so subtract 2x from both sides and then divide by 4. 4y is equal to negative 2x plus 9. And if we divide by 4, we will have y is equal to negative 1/2 x plus 9 over 4. We are mostly interested in this negative 1/2, which we call the m1. But m1 is the negative reciprocal of m2, so m2 then will be equal to 2. So what we want to do then to find line 2, using y is equal to m 2x plus b, plug in negative 7 for y and 4 for x, so that's negative 7 equals 2 times negative 4 plus b, and so continue simplifying this down 7, negative 8 plus b, plus 8 both sides, so b equals 1. So our equation would be y is equal to 2x plus 1. Let's talk about linear function applications. So the density has monthly cost of $1,500. That's a fixed cost. Student charges $60 for private lessons, so that's the price of the lesson. And price in this case a fixed number, but sometimes price can be written as a function as well, like 60 minus x, something like that. But your revenue then will be price times the amount of things that you cost. There's also a variable cost here of 35. So C of x, which is our cost, will be the fixed cost plus the variable cost. So C of x would be the variable cost, which is 35x plus 1,500. The revenue function, again, revenue is price times quantity. The price there is $60. The quantity would be x, so that's 60x. The profit function would be revenue minus cost function, revenue function minus cost function. And so we have to take this and do our 60x minus 35x plus 1,500, and your final answer will be 25x minus 1,500. Now, the number of private lessons that must be held to make a profit, your profit function must be greater than 0, so that's where p of x greater than 0, so that's 25x minus 1,500 greater than 0. And if we solve this down, we should get x greater than 60 lessons. X is greater than 60 lessons, so we solve for x. So that's our answer, more than 60 lessons. Okay, let's talk about domain and range in terms of restriction. We have a square root restriction, where anything on the square root sign must be greater than 0. In terms of a denominator restriction, anything in the denominator must not be equal to 0. In this case, apply these two restrictions here. We have radical x minus 9. We know that x minus 9 will be greater than or equal to 0, so x will be greater than or equal to 9. So here we're looking at 9 to infinity as your interval at the top. For the bottom denominator, x squared minus 9 not equal to 0. Simplify, solve for x. We have x squared not equal to 9. And so x will not be equal to 3. x is not equal to negative 3. And so this would be like negative infinity to negative 3, union 3 to 3, negative 3 to 3, and union 3 to positive infinity. Now what we want to do is we want to find out where these two domains intersect, and that would be the solution. And notice they intersect at 9 to infinity, so they're common at 9 to infinity. That's where both of them occur, so that is our solution. Now let's talk about average rate of change. ARC is f of x sub 2 minus f of x sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So let's plug in values for this. So that would be 2, negative 2 cubed plus 4 minus 0 cubed plus 4 all over 2 minus 0, and your final answer should be negative 4. If you plug this in a calculator, work it out, you should get negative 4. Okay, and now let us look at the difference quotient dq f of x sub a, x plus h minus f of x over h. So let's find f of x sub h, f of x plus h. I'm sorry, so you plug in x plus h for x, and then simplify that. So that's going to be 3 minus x squared plus 2hx plus h squared minus x minus h, and let's continue working this down. 3 minus x squared minus 2hx minus h squared minus x minus h, and we plug these in. So our dq will be equal to 3 minus x squared minus 2hx minus h squared minus x minus h, and then minus f of x, and f of x will be 3 minus x squared minus x, and all of that will be over h. So let's continue simplifying that down to so there's a 3, and there's a minus 3, is the x squared minus x squared, that's plus x squared, so those drop out. And then there's a minus x, then there's a minus x, there's a plus x, so those drop out. So what you have then is minus 2hx minus h squared minus h all over h. We can factor out this h to give negative 2x minus h minus 1 over h. So your final answer will be negative 2x minus h minus 1. And that's your final answer. Then we talk about something in vertex form. F of x equals a, x minus h squared plus k. Let's plug in this for your x and your y. You could call this y, and then your vertex will be hk. So let's plug that in. 0 is equal to a, negative 2 minus 1 plus 9, and so 0 will be equal to, don't forget to square this, 9a plus 9. Simplify the a will be equal to negative 1, so your final thing will be f of x is equal to f of x equal to negative 1 x minus 1 squared plus 9. There you go.